Good evening. I'm about to drive home, but first I'll advertise this. Let's see. Yeah, let's see what I got here. Okay, there's actually something running. See if the voice is coming through. And meanwhile, okay, good. Sounds like I got volume. And so I'm just going to share this with a few folks as usual. Getting faster at this. I only have to do it 20 times. No, I don't know how many times it takes sometimes to imprint things. Okay, that looks like I did it there. Hey, Kathy Southwestern. I haven't started yet. I'm about to go. Hey, FFF on. FFFF, that's reminds me of hexadecimal computer. That used to be like the biggest number that could fit in memory, something like that. FFFF. Anyway, good sound check from Kathy. Thank you. Hi, Finch. Laura. Yeah, so I'm probably not going to be able to look at the stuff now, but uh, on the chat, once I go, glad to have the opportunity to share some things that have been on my mind about things that Jesus said. I've got what I got many now to let me look at my directions here. I guess that's the out. Yeah, that's the out. I'm coming home from work. Kathy's online from our little abode. And so, okay. So, what did Jesus mean by regeneration? And If you have access to a Bible and you want to follow it that way, or a Strong's Concordance Bible is nice if you have a habit. Uh, and I gotta make sure I make my turn here. Regeneration, the first meaning of it that I was going to display, I thought. I don't know, I can't look at it now. But says that it's, okay, I made my turn. It's new birth. That's the primary meaning of that Greek word in English, regeneration. So Jesus describes the new birth that they were going to have to experience in order to complete their metamorphosis. Because the cells of the body are able to be changed by the mind. That's how great, that's one example of how far ahead of humans the next level members are. Because this has been designed, cultivated, the human species. We are an experiment. And so it's always evolving. And but I mean, part of the evolution is the process of how much effort we want to put out, when, where, and why, how, and uh, knowing that the completion of the project that we choose to engage to various degrees, that could possibly only be curiosity, can get us on board with the next level's help. And then as we have experiences and we keep on, at least periodically, but as much as possible, looking to their minds for help, then we're growing that. And part of that, of course, would be to know what's on their minds. And so that's where the study of the material is so necessary, because nobody's going to just magically appear to have the kind of information that D and D had and have, and left with us to see and witness. And um, it's the greatest story that has ever been told by a long shot. Nobody's in the running with the next level's story. I'm right up my turn, fortunately. I get talking, and it's like that's where my mind is. 71 East. I mean 71 West. I keep on getting that wrong. Anyway, yep. So, so that's the same thing. Regeneration is the new birth. Is the same thing that Jesus talked about in John, the book of John, as being born of flesh to be born of spirit. You need to have a vehicle. So Tindo always said, that, you need to have a vehicle in order to graduate, because the graduation process builds the strength of mind to put it into motion. And so, but then the lower forces came in and started twisting it, and which the next level knew was going to happen, and they were going to help uh, those that were disseminating their information the same way they'll help individuals disseminate their information now. Kathy was looking at the book, the Heaven's Gate book, that you can still buy from Mark and Sarah through the heavensgate.com website, as far as I know. And you can also read it there if you're new to this, or copy and paste it from the website, heavensgate.com. So anyway, we're looking at the original copy, which the class made. They actually bound the pages in this it's a big, thick book. I don't know if it's like 300 pages. I don't know, maybe something like that. No, maybe more than that, actually. But anyway, and it's gold embossed cover. It's it's 11 by 14, I think, the size of it, or maybe it's narrower. It's interesting that they chose. It seems like the strangest size. I don't know if it's 11 inches on top, and but it's like 14 inches long. It might be slightly less than 11 up top. But but in the first page that talks about everything, it says, uh, "We hope you will help distribute this far and wide," something like that. "We hope you will assist us to have this spread far and wide." And so that's our job if we want it. And so yes, it's the birth of uh, new souls to potentially become members of the next level. So, you know, how it got made into Born Again was because it became the country club religion, which was tricking the people. So I mean, the atheists or whatever other New Age uh, belief system people have, um, uh, it's all part of the human kingdom, you know, and human equivalent space aliens, and going by the airport. Enough of that. So, um, oh, that's there. Oh yeah, it's there. Good. Good. I just didn't know if that verse was there. So he's in that verse in Matthew 19:28 or 26, whatever it is. I can't read it. He's talking to those who had followed him, and he's saying, in the regeneration. I'm sorry, but uh, when the Son of Man shall be sitting on the throne of his glory, which that's what Revelation 12 talks about, being born to the throne. The man is born to the throne. In other words, he's the older member that's birthing students into the next level to be his children, in the sense of except they're not children because they don't have human families. They are adults that are young, and that's to degrees. Um, no two may be exactly the same. Well, they're not. They're not. They grow in different directions. Like you could come from the strain of let's say birds, and maybe then you'd be uh, wanting to get involved with aviation, and in the next level that could translate to um, something in the next level that's related to transportation. You know, in that regard, I guess, because the next level's got labs for probably everything, and so individuals, but I know I'm going to lose this lane. Okay, this is that spot where I lose the lane. But this is what I always do, it seems like. Not knowing exactly where that spot is. Okay, so my next turn is at my destination. So let me see what else I wanted to talk about with this. Well, I guess I was going to bring up that if I'm still recording, I don't know. Maybe I'm not. Maybe I lost it. It says it's still ticking down, so I'm going to assume it's still working. But I heard reports today about the asteroid that has a 1 in 32 chance of hitting the Earth. And that it's, I think someone told me earlier that I don't know if it's the same asteroid because I've been a little neglectful with that story, I feel. And so I got to come up to speed on it better. But I think I know all I need to know is that it has that chance. But, you know, I was expecting actually, and I even talked about this, a near miss asteroid. So I don't know, you know, what a 1 in 32 chance looks like in terms of distance. Because it's known there's been many near miss asteroids. And they got that name once they started being so close to the Earth that they were inside the moon's orbit. I don't think there was one that was any further inside the moon's orbit than halfway, or maybe even less than that I remember. I could have missed it. But I was following it religiously for a while I was writing my book. So, so the other thing I wanted to look at a little bit, checking, where Jesus talks about and everyone that has forsaken houses or brethren or sisters or fathers or mothers or wife or children or lands for my name's sake shall receive 100-fold and shall inherit everlasting life. That was literal because you're changing kingdom levels. And so everything must go. That's how you can tell the difference between everybody else. Everybody else is going to pick and choose what they're getting rid of and what they're going to apply and build their character upon, build their spirit of, build their mind into. And so everything is a facsimile of the next level. So that's why you see similarities. You have, people that come that are sages and, in their community and, become the Pope and, uh, and, you know, I'm not against, the Catholic uh, faith, but the Pope's not, he doesn't demonstrate trying to speak for the next level. Maybe he's trying. I shouldn't say that. That's not fair. Maybe he's trying to speak for the next level, or he's calling it God, whatever his belief of that is, the Trinity, or um, and he may know that they're space aliens, and he may believe that that's the ones who created Genesis. But it would be why he'd be talking to family. It's everything, about a lot of Christians. Like I heard somebody say today that God wants us to propagate and have children and families. And I know where he's taking that from, but according to Doe, the Lord doesn't want that to happen. But when it does happen, then the experiment has begun. I mean, it began when they set up the circumstances for it in the first place. So, uh, but it was at a turning point. The Adam experience of not being satisfied with uh, just the tasks that his older members gave him. Because that's not something that somebody doing a next level task would not want to do. They would want to do that task as best they could, and that wouldn't be the only task. It's not like where there may be some menial tasks in the next level. I mean, what would be considered menial because you do it over and over again. But when I don't know, it's hard to describe that. Like on this planet, for them, I don't know exactly what it's like. Okay, but on this planet, the vehicle wants to feel, or people want to feel. Maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think people want to feel part of something bigger than themselves. I think that's however you want to describe it. Are thirsty for the truth, like to hear things that make sense. Among a sea of things that don't make sense, but are being propagated and even dominating the talk. Right. So the Christians, another thing that is being said that a number of denominations believe is that Jesus doesn't come back till after the third temple is built. And uh, those that insist on their interpretation of that as the only interpretation or the highest interpretation, the most accurate interpretation, um, and disclude others. That's the key there. It's one thing to feel like you know something, but do you really know it if you aren't willing to consider that you're wrong about something? But so yes, we have to be willing to be wrong all the time. That's the only way we're gonna. Well, it's not. I'm not saying it's the only way, but it's a big part of the lesson program. Somebody stop there on the side? No, I guess not. It's on the turnaround. So the reason why I'm saying that though about the temple is because what what did Jesus mean by using the word temple? Well, as you find out, there was only one verse that came from Jesus that gave that kind of an indication. And you know what? I don't think I put that here. I should have put that here. Oh, I think I do have it. Well, I can't do that much. I can't do as thorough of a job on this since I'm driving. Um, so I'll add to it in a future one. Uh, but I guess when I read that, about everyone that has forsaken all that, that's like one of those things that's for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. In other words, something to recognize as the truth. And yes, it will challenge us to recognize it as the truth, and it's meant to challenge us, and then let that work within us, um, to examine ourselves by looking at the lists of the major and the lesser offenses, um, getting to know that a little bit. But you don't have to, I mean, this could be made into an intellectual thing. We always got to memorize this and memorize that. No, it's as you know, you can't absorb it all at once. Uh, I don't think it's possible to absorb it all at once. Or they wouldn't have told us that we're lucky if we get 50% of what they give us, and they feel like they're doing good to get 50% of what they get to give to us. What they actually programmed themselves, not programmed, but put on the docket to bring information wise for the appropriate lesson steps of those in the human kingdom that are souls that are coming up. That formula is described uh, in whole in the document Giannotti wrote called The Way Team from Deep Space Services Before Departure. It's in the Heaven's Gate book. I mean, I think, reading the entire book as often as you like is, is well, it can be almost everything. I mean, it's all you need, really. But they wanted us to have it, as they said in the letter to Mark and Sarah. They wanted us to have a more in-depth understanding of what they were about, and to me, that was a direct implication of the content of the audio tapes. But it wasn't limited to the audio tapes, because those that were witnesses have their own unique, well, somewhat unique, I mean, not really, a point of view in the witnessing and what we retained and what we didn't from Next Level Mind. And it's even designed to be that way so that there are stair steps uh, to the human kingdom according to the interests of people to grow in order for the thirst to evolve. And whatever, it doesn't matter what their belief system is that they keep on going. They don't stop. They don't get to a point to where everything is to be learned from Christianity. That's it. You can't learn anything from any other language. That's a language. I mean, well, yeah, it is a language, right? That's part of the problem. It's treated as a language more than a database of ideas. You say the words and you know where they came from, so you don't necessarily think about what each word means, except in the general sense, or except in the sense of how it elates us, which is uh, potentially, which is the drug of religion. And I think religion and spirituality and the New Age and even atheism also, all evidence. Okay, so um, and then where it says that many shall be first, shall be last, and last shall be first, it, uh, that I believe that first is by the person's opinion of themselves, or that um, first become students of the older member, because the lower forces work on it. And Jesus talked about that with the sowing of the seeds and how the birds, you know, devour some of the seeds. Birds being, I believe, the Luciferian space alien fallen angel souls who have their hybridized human vehicles on board their spacecrafts and can't get beyond the near space around the Earth, is the way that they'll put it. So, so then the last shall be first, and that could also be that those that um, are perceived, even might perceive themselves to be last. Um, uh, in other words, they don't have that confidence that you see in many religions. Many religious are very confident in what they believe. They've got it all figured out. I mean, they talk like they don't have it all figured out, if you were sitting down to talk with people, I'm sure you would get a lot of insights from people as to, but um, so I can't say, I don't have that experience. I'm just kind of guessing, I guess, in that regard. But when you can actually communicate, well, see, this is where the space alien, I don't know, I wonder if, I don't know, if the whole space alien subject, I mean, they could, release some files that show that they actually found bodies in the crash that happened near Roswell, New Mexico, and Aztec, New Mexico. Maybe they'll release some of that. But it would be a release, but I don't, I wouldn't expect that many people would really be told about it on the mainstream media. But maybe they would. Maybe they'd be laughing at it. Because just because somebody is um, of what any belief system doesn't mean that they can easily adjust to that reality of the space aliens. But maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe it's easy for people to adjust to that. It's just me who had a hard time adjusting to it. I didn't know I was having a hard time, but I recognized that there were there was levels of feeling like you recognize that something was real and it wasn't just like a science fiction way of thinking. See, I only became, I know I've repeated this many times, but since I opened the door just now, when Dope brought the book, uh, Crash at Aztec, to the group when we were living up Boulder Canyon on Lost Angel Road, um, and he gave us the assignment of reading some parts of the appendix in this big, thick book. Um, and the appendix, the part that he had us read was the Leonard Stringfield um, publication of what was called a series of U.S. U.S. crash retrieval. I don't know, it might have been another part of that name, of those documents that you can actually go read them in the library in Roswell, where it talks about the autopsies. I think the next level allowed a certain amount to come out. Well, not allowed, but saw to it that a certain amount would come out, knowing that if the rest doesn't come out, it's not a big problem because um, it's not necessary to know everything about what happened there, even though that would be very interesting, of course. I would love to see, all the first-hand accounts of that. Whoever gets that contract is going to make a lot of money. But I think they should give it away free. They should give that away free. But so that's when I read those chapters, um, it, uh, maybe even a day after had read them, which was an assignment to read them. I remember thinking, "Holy smokes, that's real!" Because the first experience I had with UFO posters in 1975, and that was about 1986 or 7, primarily. But you know, UFOs didn't mean anything to me, except for the experience I had a few months before that of hearing a Roswell report that I thought was really happening, and I only learned that it was a recounting of the Roswell thing on the radio. Before that, I don't remember anything about. But it seems like I just felt like yeah, okay, I believe that. Just made sense to me. I think because the vehicle was given a chip of recognition by the next level of certain things. That doesn't mean I still retain that now, except by my memory. So I'm not trying to, set myself up as being some kind of seer or something. No, a next level member um, with that kind of characteristic of wanting to be the leader of the movement in some shape or form would be pulling on a different mind than their older member. They would only do it if their older member uh, made it happen, which could look like a natural thing. Anyway, uh, so Jesus said in John 3:3, except a man be born again, he cannot see the kingdom of God. He wouldn't grow to be able to see the members of the kingdom of God. That might be literal, actually, because of what they vibrate. That's not human. I believe their natural state is invisible to humans. Even their denser physical vehicle than their soul body, I believe, has the engineering to change its vibrations so that human eyes can't perceive it, but it's a solid object. And we know that that kind of technology exists because we can see the reverse of that, to where a human eye cannot see at night, but infrared camera can see at night. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but uh, so Jesus then expounds that unless, except a man be born of water and of spirit, and of spirit. And then he describes what that water birth is. And he says it's that which is born of flesh is flesh. In other words, the flesh uh, um, doesn't get birthed. But then Tindo talked a little bit about that, not directly related to this scripture, because they didn't teach from the Bible. So, but that the flesh itself uh, enjoys being of service to the mind that's occupying it. I don't know if I said that right, or the best way, or the way that Doe and T described. Probably didn't. But I think the idea is there that the flesh chooses to cooperate. That's another way of with the soul that's inhabiting it. And when I say flesh, I'm talking about the mind of the vehicle. The mind that came from the ancestry of the physical, dense physical vehicle, and also uh, the mind that came from that, the genetic mind that came into that new vehicle when it was born. That forms the basis of the inner mind in T&O's terminology. And you can hear how they talked about that inner mind and different kinds of mind in the audio tapes, in some of the first audio tapes. Well, I don't know what numbers it was. So Jesus says that's what's flesh is flesh, and that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. And then he goes on to describe it even further as spirit being something that exists but you can't see it. Compares it to the wind. And the word spirit is pneuma. Uh, I don't remember if he, because the word su seems to be life force or sentience. So maybe su would be, well, I don't know, I'm getting too analytical now, trying to be. You know, it's probably pseudo-analytical to some people, um, but but my point is on this is that he's differentiating between the flesh and the spirit as being two things that are in development, or that are part of the process. In other words, you can't be born of spirit unless you have a vehicle. That's why our position is against suicide. but both kinds of suicide. Suicide of the soul is the kind of suicide that members at the next level that um, knew that was right for them would have been suicide had they not left, because of how the lower forces step in and blind us into leaving, and and that we automatically want to justify, and it's a conflict. But if you ask for help, you get help with that. But if you don't ask for help, then it's well, then you lose more and more of the mind that the vehicle um, became filled with, became surrounded by. Maybe it's a better way of saying it. Being surrounded by mind. But so, speaking of being blinded, there are a lot of people who are Christians who are blind to what, from what everything I can tell from what they say, and I've talked with many, in chats and uh, I mean not that many. I shouldn't be too over exaggerating that, but I've seen them talking about things many times, in memes and things, to where, well, also in commentaries, because I wasn't studying the commentaries while I was writing my book, unless I kind of was having trouble um, feeling like I was getting the most accurate interpretation of something. Then I would be looking at what other people were saying about it. I don't know if that helped or not, but anyway, it was part of my process. So, that was interesting that Jesus described it as the wind, but also as sound. And we know that radio waves are a medium for sound. And we know that, according to Darwin T, that The next level communicates with sound waves to people. In other words, in thought form. Um, on a band that, or a frequency that they haven't given humans to understand how to recognize and use, which you can think is a perfect way to keep humans from interfering with the next level's communication with people, with humans. Okay, I've got a motorhome here. Looks like I'm gonna pass. It's going uphill. That's more like a bus. They'll probably catch up with me. Um, anyway, we've got another 18 minutes. That's very interesting, isn't it? That remember that in Genesis where it talked about they could hear the sound of Adam and Eve. I mean, could hear the sound of the Lord. Isn't that what it was? Which would give you an indication that uh, if their ears could hear it, that there was some physical manifestation of that sound. Kind of implies that, doesn't it? By our current understanding of physics, because sound is a vibration made by solid objects hitting against each other or to form a wave of frequency for duration and an amplification. So that would be like saying that the soul has physicality, perhaps. Comparing being born again with the sound of that. And compared with the wind is also indicating that there's some physical force behind the creation of the wind. I know I think people that study it feel like they've seen the science of the orbit of the planet, and I don't deny any of that. Might be completely sensible. I haven't studied, the creation of the winds, We know that the polar caps have been moving, which T talks about in the book that she started to write with Doe in 1973. Thank you, bright automatic brights. I wanted to see the brights. I'm faster than artificial intelligence. So, let's see what else. I mean, there's so many things coming out about, expenditures. It's, no wonder why they're so furious about it, wanting to make it into a revolution. The dirty laundry is being shown, the dirty dealings, the manipulating of money, and the bankers are. I don't know what's going on with the bankers that bankroll these things. Which amounts to numbers on a page, right? It's all digital. I don't know why. I heard somebody today say that the amount you can borrow is limited. Well, I don't understand that. Why would it be limited? By the number of zeros that you can fit on the computers in the current manifestations? They can always add more more bytes by having better and better circuit boards, or even bigger and bigger circuit boards. I mean, I'm sure there's a limit to that, unless you find substances that can be used at microscopic level to, to transmit current. At least that's one way I'm thinking about it a little bit. But I wish I could ask you what you think about it. About, well, any of the stuff I talk about, I want to know if you have some ideas about it. Of course, I can't. I see things that we say later in the chat, so I don't know what it pertains to sometimes when somebody responds. But so the near miss asteroid, I guess it could hit if the next level wants to. They say it would be like 500 times something like that. The bomb in Hiroshima. I don't know. Uh, which I don't know what they think, how it compares with the Tunguska event that happened, where it flattened uh, thousands of acres, maybe even tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of acres, maybe a million. I don't know. There were, I think, some square miles to it. But I think the next level has these things happen so that they get recorded in history. Because everything that the next level is doing is an experiment, and they do things in cycles. I mean, so if someone tells you that you can't share that information because the copyright uh, is a common law copyright, and it talks about it in the Heaven's Gate book that you can share it entirely or parts of it, as long as you don't add or take away from it. So you wouldn't be putting your own interpretation on it. Well, they didn't say what you could and couldn't do, except for what I just said. Don't add to it or take away from it. You know, so, but I think what that means is, let's say you're talking to somebody about, and you don't qualify that, you keep on talking about what they said, and then you don't qualify that often during a conversation, that my thoughts about this, or my opinions about this, or my interpretation about this, you know, to somebody, so that they don't, they know the difference. I think it behooves us to quote as much as possible. But just like with scripture, the next level will work very carefully to for every word. I mean, that's literal. I mean, where to put a the, and because Doe was using Doroti and her experience as a technical editor to comb through it and give her thoughts to Doe about impressions that people might have from this wording or that wording. And which I talked about before, how that was even part of the program, to pick certain vehicles that would have those kind of skills. So, so their words are golden. Their words are golden words, in my opinion. Although I never heard them use that description of them. But I feel safe to say that. Or diamonds, I'm not trying to, have uh, they're gemstones. Um, they don't beat around the bush. Unlike the space aliens do and the humans take after, a lot of them. A lot of us, because I've got, my stuff. Everybody's got stuff. If you don't think you have stuff, then you you haven't built. Your standards are too low. like, to one person, you could be insulting them, and to another person, it's not an insult. It's just, it's what I think. It's what I feel. And understandable. But once in Germany and England, if you put that on the internet, you could go to jail if they determined that that was hate speech, whatever you said about somebody else. I don't know what else would be considered hate speech. What if they outlawed saying that vitamin C can help you with viruses? Boost your vitamin C. Oh, guess what? I'm at the closing point. So good night, folks.